Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a concept that is, I think, universally desired yet. Well, it feels nearly impossible for so many of us to actually implement.
Mhm.
We're talking about the art of truly letting go.
Right.
And this isn't just about, breakups or loss. It's about releasing anything, a past resentment, an old career identity, a broken expectation, anything that has its hooks deep in your present self.
It is the ultimate psychological friction point, isn't it?
Hmm.
We all know we should let go.
Yeah.
But the mechanism of release feels overwhelmingly difficult.
Exactly.
And we've been diving into a really rich body of work today, excerpts from The Art of Releasing and Healing. And it offers a remarkably clear, almost a step-by-step blueprint for moving past that friction.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty simple. We want to extract the hard-earned wisdom from this material and really try to transform that abstract idea of choosing peace into something actionable for you.
Something real.
Yeah, something real. We need to understand the true anatomy of healing.
And I think to do that, we first have to address the widespread confusion around that phrase itself.
Letting go.
Yeah, let's just clarify right off the bat what the material says letting go is not.
Okay, let's unpack this because the framework is very, very specific here.
It is.
Letting go is absolutely not about amnesia. It's
Yeah.
not about just forgetting what happened or pretending that a person or a whole chapter in your life didn't deeply matter to you.
Right. And it's also not a test of strength.
Mm.
I think a lot of people feel this pressure to instantly be strong
Yeah.
or to race to move on fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And the source material argues that this rush, it just leads to suppression. You're just delaying the real work.
You're storing the pain.
You're storing the pain. If you try to skip the feeling, you're just putting it on a shelf for later.
That distinction is so crucial. So, if we strip away the avoidance and all that pressure, what does the synthesis actually define letting go as?
At its core, it's it's a profound act of self-prioritization. It's the conscious act of releasing the things, the thoughts, the attachments that are actively preventing you from becoming the person you're meant to be right now.
That completely shifts the narrative. It's not a loss, it's more like a necessary clearance.
Yeah, a clearance. I like that.
And the source material really highlights the central choice that this definition forces us to make.
It does. It forces a fundamental realignment of your values. It is choosing your peace over your past.
Mm.
It is choosing your future over a debilitating memory. The whole process is centered on that decisive realization that you are choosing you.
I understand the philosophical weight of choosing you, but when you're in the thick of the pain, that choice feels impossible.
Yeah.
Why does this process feel less like empowerment and more like a forced psychological surgery?
That's a brilliant way to put it, because that feeling of intrusion, of deep cutting, is exactly what's happening. We intuitively believe the pain comes from releasing the external thing, the job, the friend, the partner. But the deep, grinding pain the material identifies, it comes from something far more intimate.
Which is?
It is the requirement to release the version of ourselves that existed inside that chapter.
Oh.
We're saying goodbye to an identity, the person who hoped for that outcome, the person who made those plans, the one who was defined by that specific role.
That hits hard because that past self is so often intertwined with this deep hope. So how does the framework suggest we even begin to identify and grieve that past self instead of just ignoring them?
Well, you have to acknowledge that you're mourning all these accompanying losses.
Yeah.
It's not just the relationship you're mourning the imagined future.
The what should have happened.
Exactly. The what should have happened. You lose all the expectations you carried, the narrative you just kept replaying in your head. It's a completely internal bereavement.
And facing that internal bereavement is precisely where all the resistance kicks in. We know intellectually we need to release it, but we hold on so tight. What are the key reasons the source material lists for that resistance?
The fears it lists are incredibly relatable. First, there's just the practical fear of starting over,
Mm.
which is tied to this profound sense of exhaustion.
Right. I don't have the energy.
I just can't. Then there's that persistent hope, which is often, irrational, that if you just wait long enough, something will magically change and validate all your suffering.
I think the most paralyzing one I saw listed is the one about wasted time.
Oh, yes.
If you finally let go, it feels like you're confirming that all the energy, all the effort, all the years you invested were for nothing. That rationalization becomes a trap.
It does. Because people prefer the pain they know to the potential validation of loss. And then, underlying all of it, is the simple painful truth that
Mm.
a part of you still cares deeply.
And you equate holding on to the pain with holding on to that connection.
That last shred of connection, yeah.
The framework, though, offers a really powerful counterintuitive insight here.
It does.
That holding on to something that actively hurts, even if it feels familiar, that requires far more exhausting energy than the fear of letting it go.
Yes. The cost of maintaining the status quo is what ultimately breaks us.
Precisely. The pain of the present starts to outweigh the fear of an unknown future.
And that recognition, that is the tipping point.
So, for you listening and evaluating your own situation, how do you know definitively when you've crossed that critical threshold? What are the practical, clear signs that it's time to choose peace?
The material gives some really clear gauges for self-assessment. The first indicator is measurable. Your peace disappears. It's not just that you have bad days, it's that your baseline emotional state has become agitation or anxiety.
And right along with that, your self-worth starts dropping. You feel less valuable, less worthy of good things because of this continued association with the pain point. That erosion of self-respect is a major sign.
Another critical one, you feel constantly drained instead of hopeful. If your energy is just perpetually being consumed by rumination, replaying scenarios, and it's never replenished by simple joy, that's a huge red flag. Psychologically, you start to overthink everything. Simple situations become complex. They get weighted down by this anxiety that all comes from the pain you haven't released.
And here's where that internal disconnect becomes clearest. You realize you are holding on more to memories than reality.
Yes, that's a big one.
You're living in this polished, idealized version of the past, maybe the first 3 months of a relationship or the early potential of a project, rather than accepting the messy, uncomfortable, and often disappointing reality of right now.
And this leads directly to the ultimate indicator of that tipping point. You stay because you're scared to leave, not because you are genuinely happy to be there.
Not because you're fulfilled.
No. When fear is the engine driving your commitment, you are already spiritually gone.
Out of all of those markers, the loss of peace, the self-worth drop, clinging to memory, which one do you think is the hardest for the average person to admit to themselves?
Oh, I would argue it's clinging to the memory versus reality.
Why that one?
Because admitting that the current reality is destructive means you have to kill the hope that the memory is feeding you.
Oh.
It means confronting the fact that the person or situation you love today is not the ideal you are chasing from the past. It forces that realization that letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means realizing your heart deserves something fundamentally better than what you're currently accepting.
And that self-realization, that's what triggers the methodology for healing. The framework outlines a 5-step deep process. This is the how-to guide for actually making that choice.
Absolutely. And the first step demands real courage because it goes against our instinct to just suppress everything. Step 1 is allow yourself to feel the pain.
We spend so much energy trying to minimize the sadness or numb the sting. Why is confronting it head on the starting point?
Because healing starts when you stop pretending it doesn't hurt. You cannot process what you're storing away. The framework stresses that you have to allow the sadness, the anger, the frustration to move through you.
Not around you.
Not around you, through you. It's like a storm. You don't try to stop the storm, you let it pass. And you make sure you're protected while it rages. It's about validating your own experience.
Okay. So once you've processed that raw internal emotion, the next step forces you to confront external reality. Step 2. Accept what cannot change.
This is maybe the most pragmatic step. It demands that you surrender control over things outside of you. The source gives some powerful examples. Some people will just never apologize.
Right.
Some chapters will end without giving you a neat, satisfying closure package. Some endings will never make sense no matter how many times you replay the tape.
But if accepting that is so hard, how does the source recommend dealing with the deep-seated resentment that comes with that lack of closure?
The key is shifting the power dynamic. Resentment holds you hostage.
Right.
You're waiting for the other person to unlock the door.
Right. You're waiting for them to act.
The material explains that you don't need external answers or apologies to give yourself permission to move forward. This process introduces the idea of self-given closure.
Self-given closure.
You define the ending, not based on their actions, but based on your decision to protect your peace. And that shift in control, that's what dismantles the resentment.
That acceptance clears the mental runway for the next 2 steps, which are purely about internal rebuilding. It starts with step 3, forgive yourself.
And for so many people, this is the deepest hurdle. We blame ourselves. for not seeing the red flags, for staying too long, for caring too much, for hoping when the signs were all there.
Hmm.
The framework encourages just radical self-compassion here.
It's a moment of grace where you stop judging your past decisions and you just affirm. You did what you could with the heart you had, based on the information you had at the time.
And that self-forgiveness is the prerequisite for the ultimate act of self-protection. Step 4. Learn to love yourself enough to walk away.
This is it.
This is where letting go transforms from like an agonizing task into a proactive commitment to your own well-being.
It reframes the entire dynamic. It stops being about who you are releasing, and it starts being about consciously choosing to protect your energy, your mental landscape, your soul.
Yes.
This is the moment when the strongest thing you can do is stand up and say, I deserve better, and I'm finally choosing myself.
And this leads us to the final, really forward-looking step, which the material describes as an energetic exchange. Step 5, make space for the new. Let's elaborate on that phrase, energetic exchange. What exactly are we releasing that creates this space?
We are releasing the energy spent on the past, the hours spent on anxiety, the rumination, the detailed future planning you were doing for a situation that doesn't exist anymore. That is mental and emotional capital.
It really is. When you release what hurt you, what drained you, you are literally opening your hands. You're creating a void where pain used to be. And that allows you to receive something that aligns better with the person you're becoming now.
So it's not just a philosophical idea, it's a realignment of your internal resources. You're redirecting energy that was used for damage control.
Toward growth.
For growth, exactly.
And once those steps are taken, the feeling, the acceptance, the forgiveness, the walking away, and making space, what happens next?
Well, in the immediate aftermath, the framework acknowledges there's going to be a void. It can feel like losing a limb because the pain was so integrated into your daily routine.
But then quietly, and I think beautifully, the perspective shifts.
Mm-hmm.
It stops feeling like losing a significant part of your life, and it starts to feel like finding yourself again.
And that reconnection to self is the greatest tangible benefit, right? You stop feeling so heavy, you'll breathe easier, your sleep will deepen, your thoughts become so much clearer. The energy you released in step 5 is now actually available for genuine life engagement.
The material summarizes this transformation perfectly. So one day, you'll look back, maybe without even noticing the transition at first, and you'll realize that the day you committed to those 5 steps, that was the day your life quietly but profoundly started to change.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think the core insight here is that the resistance you feel is not a moral failing. It is simply fear masking itself as attachment. You are not weak for choosing release.
On the contrary, you are brave for choosing peace. You are worthy of a life that supports you, not one that is constantly breaking you down. And if we synthesize everything we've explored today, the final beautiful analysis is that letting go isn't a loss at all.
What is it?
It is the ultimate necessary return to yourself.
That's a truly profound thought. If you take one idea away from this deep dive, let it be the wisdom in this framework. Your heart deserves softness, your soul deserves rest, and your life, unequivocally, deserves peace. So the question for you to mull over today is this. What specific pain point are you continuing to invest your precious energy in, and what is the real cost of keeping that item in your personal inventory?
Thank you for joining us as we explored this path to healing.